What is financial freedom? Financial freedom means having enough income, saving, and investment to cover your living expense without relying on active work. It gives you the ability to make choices without financial stress. Imagine you earn money from investment. Your monthly expenses are 1,000. But if your investment generates 1,500 every month, since your monthly expense is less than your income, you don't need to rely on active work to pay bills because you are financially free. We can take example. A college student starts a small online tutoring business and invests part of the earning in a saving account. After graduation, the passive income from tutoring and the internet interest covers the passive income from tutoring and the interest covers rent and basic expenses. So for some time, the student can be free from financial stress and doesn't need a full-time job immediately. Again, let us add one more example. An office worker saves aggressively for 10 years, invests in index fund, and buys a rental property. The rental income plus investment returns pay for monthly bills, so he can choose to work part-time or retire early without financial stress. All these examples are possible only if you have the freedom financially. Now, let us see what are the foundations of the financial freedom. There are three: balancing income and expense. Number two, budgeting your money. And then building an emergency fund. Let us see one by one. The first is understanding income versus expense. As we all know, income is the money we earn through different means, while expense is the cost of living, such as rent, food, and bills. The relationship between the two determines your financial health. If your expense exceed your income, you fall into debt. On the other hand, if your income is higher, you have surplus fund to save and invest. Hence, understanding income versus expense is the base for financial freedom. So, financial freedom starts with controlling this balance. When you consistently spend less than you earn, you create a positive cash flow. This surplus can be directed toward saving, investment, and building assets that generate income. Over time, these actions compound, reducing reliance on active work and moving you closer to independence. Assume that you earn $2,500 monthly and spend $1,800. That means you have $700 left. Investing that $700 regularly can grow into significant wealth, especially covering your expense without needing a job. This is financial freedom in action. The second foundation is budgeting. Budgeting is the foundation of financial freedom because it gives you control over your money and ensures every dollar has a purpose. Without a budget, it is easy to overspend and accumulate debt, which delays financial independence. A well-planned budget helps to allocate funds for essentials, saving, and investment. These are key steps towards building wealth and reducing financial stress. Let us strengthen this idea by example. If your monthly income is 3,000, and if you create a budget that sets aside 1,000 for living expense, $500 for debt repayment, and 800 for investment. This shows you are actively moving towards financial freedom. Over time, these disciplined choices compound into long-term wealth and independence. Building an emergency fund is another foundation of financial freedom. By the way, an emergency fund is nothing but a financial safety net. That's to say, money set aside to cover unexpected expenses like medical bills, car repairs, or job loss is an emergency fund. It is typically kept in a separate and easily accessible account. Emergency fund is a base for financial freedom simply because without it, any unexpected expense can force you into debt and disrupting your financial progress. A solid emergency fund protects your saving and investment, allowing you to stay on track towards financial independence. It gives peace of mind and stability, which is essential for building wealth. If we see it by using example, if your monthly expense is 1,500, aim for an emergency fund 4,500 to 9,000. This plan ensures that if you lose your job or face a major expense, you will not need to borrow or liquidate investment, keeping your financial freedom plan intact. Now let us proceed to the second section. It is debt management. Under this section, we will see types of debt, strategies to eliminate it, and avoiding future debt traps. Debt management is a process of controlling, reducing, and eventually eliminating debt through strategies like budgeting, prioritizing repayments, and avoiding unnecessary borrowing. Why this process is important is if we apply it effectively, it prevents financial stress, saves money, and frees up income for saving and investment. That means it is a key step towards financial freedom because without managing debt, wealth building becomes an empty dream. There are two types of debt, good debt and bad. The categorization is based on whether it helps you build wealth or drains your finance. If you create or generate income just by using money you borrowed from, that's very good and we call it a good debt. For instance, a student loan for education or a mortgage for a home that appreciates in value increases earning potential or asset ownership. If you create or generate income just by using money you borrowed from, that is very good and we call it a good debt. For instance, a student loan for education or a mortgage for a home that appreciates in value increases earning potential or asset ownership. On the other hand, bad debt bad debt is known by just borrowing for things that depreciate or don't generate income. A credit card debt for luxury items or payday loans, which often come with high interest and no long-term benefit, is a good example. From this, what we observe is understanding the difference between the two debt types help to make smarter borrowing decisions. Therefore, good debt can support financial growth while bad debt can trap you in a cycle that delays financial freedom. Next to this point, we will talk about strategies of eliminating debt. There are two popular strategies to help pay off debt faster. They are snowball and avalanche method. The snowball method focuses on paying off the smallest debt first while making minimum payments on others. Once the smallest is cleared, move to the next smallest. For example, if you owe $500, $1,500, and $3,000, start with the $500 one. This builds momentum and motivation. In the case of avalanche method, focus on the debt with the highest interest rate first, regardless of balance, while making minimum payments on others. Example, if your 3,000 debt has 20% interest and 500 one has 10%, pay off the 3,000 first. This saves more money on interest over time. Now the point is, snowball boosts motivation while avalanche saves more on interest. As we can understand, both methods help to stay disciplined and reduce debt systematically. Therefore, choose the one that fits your personality and financial goals. Now let us take a look at the third point, debt management, which is avoiding future debt traps. Debt traps occur when borrowing becomes a cycle, or it is taking off new loans to pay old ones, or relying on credit for everyday expense. Avoiding these traps helps to make smart financial choices that prevent unnecessary borrowing. The question is how to avoid them. Okay, let's examine the different means or lifestyle that helps to avoid debt traps. The first is spending less than you earn and prioritize needs over wants. Build an emergency fund to cover unexpected expense. Use credit wisely and avoid high interest loans. Make big purchase by plan instead of using credit impulsively. Track your spending and review your budget to spot overspending early.